3.6. कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य यास्ते मनसा स्मरन् इन्द्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारः उच्यते. One who restrains the senses of action but whose mind dwells on sense objects certainly deludes himself and is called a pretender. And it's very important for practicing devotees not to do this. Okay, this Vaishnavakya is all about this. There are many pretenders who will refuse to work in Krishna consciousness but make a show of meditation while actually dwelling within the mind upon sense enjoyment. Such pretenders may also speak on dry philosophy in order to bluff sophisticated followers, but according to this verse, these are the greatest cheaters. For sense enjoyment, one can act in any capacity of the social order. But if one follows the rules and regulations of his particular status, he can make gradual progress in purifying his existence. So, Varnashrama, as long as we follow rules and regulations, then we can make gradual progress. But he who makes a show of being a yogi while actually searching for the objects of sense gratification must be called the greatest cheater. Even though he sometimes speaks of philosophy, his knowledge has no value because the effects of such a sinful man's knowledge are taken away by the illusory energy of the Lord. Such a pretender's mind is always impure, and therefore his show of yogic meditation has no value whatsoever. Yeah, so we should not be pretenders. We should not be inside something, outside something else. This is very important. Mm. Devotee should be simple and transparent. Not like we are trying to uh, manipulate every situation. So we should not become pretenders that way. Slightly not directly applicable to us, but um, whatever we are, I mean, like at least devotees we are in touch with, our whoever is guiding us, etc. They should know who we are, right? And outside also for other devotees, it's not required for us to show that I am something else than what I am, so that people will praise me for what I'm doing. We should now not have all these things in the mind. We should just be simple. Whatever we are, and sincerely try to make progress. Of course, I mean, one more question can come saying that we also restrain our senses from action, but our mind dwells on these sense objects, right? Like suppose somebody says, okay, don't eat outside food, but I'm trying to restrain, but my mind is dwelling on sense objects, then he is cheating himself, right? So, which is why Vishaya Vinivartante Nirarasya Dehina Rasavarjam Rasopyasya Param Drushta Nivartate. So we should experience higher taste, and we should willingly accept these as see, when does this dwelling on sense objects comes? When, okay, dwelling on sense objects can happen irrespective of whether we are doing it intentionally or not. For example, it could be our previous vasanas that some we're not able to give up something, some sense object, right? But we have to sincerely try. Not like we are externally refraining, but internally we are harboring that, oh, I want this object, I want this object, I want this object. Then we are a cheater. We are externally giving up. Internally, even if we get those desires, we are fighting hard to not succumb to it. Then we are not pretenders, right? Uh, but not for simply for La Puja Pratishta. Oh, somebody will say, oh, this is so great. We don't show off like that just for that, right? We are following it because our acharyas have given it as rules and regulations. And even if we happen to dwell on those sense objects internally, we feel disgusted. Oh, such a fallen state. I should not be doing this. Sincerity. Then we are okay. Otherwise, we also belong to this cheater category. We should think, whom are we cheating? Finally, we are cheating ourselves. That is why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always said, you preach what you should preach by your action, right? Not just, that is why Prabhupada is used the word here, dry philosophy. Dry philosophy means that you are only speaking about it. You are not following it yourself. Okay.
One question, Prabhuji.
Yeah.
So just now you mentioned the example. So if it means that we are trying to control our mind to not think about that object, maybe, or any material object, so is it a progress, or our mind is dwelling
Yeah.
on it, but we are not
Yes,
restrained? We are
yes.
restraining.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolute progress.
Okay.
Absolute progress. See, because the mind stopping the whole thought will take sufficient time. That's not going to happen overnight. That's going to happen for few things. Say, for example, each of us have our own previous life experiences. Now, based on that, some things might be easy for some and some things might be difficult for some others. So what
Yes.
will remain in our thought process is what is difficult for us, which might not be difficult for somebody else because his or her life experience is different, right? So that thought where we get stuck, that will remain for some time. And that is the whole process of anartha nivritti, that we remove all these anarthas from our heart. It takes time. But the first step is at least to recognize that this is not good and try not to respond to it as much as possible. I mean, even if we fail, it's okay. We sincerely keep trying again and again till we succeed. Absolute progress.
Oh.
Any other?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, if someone is not able to follow, suppose someone is trying to practice, is doing chanting, everything, but he has addiction for coffee, which he is not able to get rid of, but he is not hiding it. So that comes under it doesn't come under pretending,
He's
right?
not a pretender, but he's not serious about bhakti.
Okay.
See, the whole point is that effort has to be made. Okay. If in bhakti is anyway, I mean, it's going against the whole existence in that sense, right? For so many years that we've had in this material world. So it is going to be difficult. That is why surrender is required. Surrender means what? Acharyas are saying, Guru is saying, no intoxication, 4 regulative principles. Coffee is intoxicant, so I have to drop it. Otherwise, I can't call myself as a sadhaka. See, no question about these 4 regulative principles. There's no question. I mean, if somebody is not able to give up those, then that means that they're really struggling, right? Like, we have to have some, what should you say, willpower or in desire to give up these are basal kind of requirements, right? Very animalistic. We should give it up. Lower modes, we should give up. See, when Prabhupada went to the West, people were so addicted to this illicit sex. But because they got engaged in Prabhupada's service, in the service of the Lord, they experienced higher taste, they gave up lower taste. So which means that somebody who is finding it difficult to give up coffee, he must engage himself or herself intensely in the service of Krishna. Take Krishna Prasadam, then why will his taste for coffee not go away? It has to go away. If he's not, then he's not doing it the right way, or he's not associating with the right people. He's not trying to follow the right things. I mean, effort has to be put, right. Nothing will happen, even materially. Nobody will achieve anything without putting effort, right? Same thing in spiritual life also. Without putting effort, we can't achieve anything.
Prabhuji, one related question, maybe. So, for example, a devotee is supposed to be humble and humility, right?
Yes.
So, for example, if situations happens and one is angry, and now a non-devotee will say that, okay, you chant also, you do this also, but still you are angry, you have no control, etc., etc. So one can feel demotivated, but attempt is made. But so how to process that situation?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, we should not get demotivated. We should just feel, we should feel bad saying that, okay, see, I'm not up to the mark. Okay, let me, and we have to have utsaha, nishchaya, dhairya, utsaha, enthusiasm. Okay, now I got something to work for towards, right? I have a milestone. Okay, I want to get over this problem. See, this is bringing about change in our life is an opportunity for us to work on something all the time. These are like small milestones for us. We should get excited about it, saying that, okay, I have work to do.
Okay.
And then
So
we get over that, then we feel, oh, okay, so Krishna gave mercy. I tried, Krishna gave mercy, so I'm able to overcome it.
right.
See, eventually we are thinking in a very like a, frog in the well kind of way, right? Like with such limited vision about this whole path of bhakti that ultimately the such exalted goal that we have to achieve, right? And I'm saying what we are discussing is all like looks very trivial when we finally look at what we have to achieve. So we should not get stuck in triviality. We should make progress. So every small attempt, every that becomes, that we are able to make progress is great. Like we are moving towards our final goal.
Okay.
Probably one more thing, Prabhu, related to the same. This is something addiction. If you don't leave even after knowing, that's definitely insincerity. And sometimes some situations will be there. It's not addiction, but for courtesy, we do certain things.
For whose courtesy?
That, suppose if we go to some relative's house and they offer some coffee or tea.
Absolutely wrong courtesy to have. No courtesy in these matters.
We may feel, oh, why to bother them asking for something else? Or,
but that is independent thinking, no? What is the Shastra saying? This speculative thought process we should stop. We should read Prabhupada's books and try to follow what Prabhupada is saying. His Prabhupada anywhere said, saying that you can do compromise for relatives, please them. Devarshi bhutaptan ranam pitranam na kinkaro nayam ranicha rajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam kato mukundam parihartya kratam. One who has surrendered to Mukunda, he gives up all obligations. No obligations. No trying to please anybody. Not required. But for that we should have surrendered to Krishna. If you not surrender to Krishna, then we can go on. This is all just like a joke. In the name of bhakti, we do all kinds of nonsense.
That means almost like we should come out of whichever is not favorable. We should put some stop to that.
Absolutely.
No excuses like, oh, it's
absolutely,
okay once
yes,
in a while.
But no. That and all is not acceptable at all. But there is possibly ways to handle it, right? Like, for example, if you go to, we should first explain saying that, see, I have this practice, please don't mind. And of course, I mean, like some things which, like, for example, I mean, like, if at all compromise type, like is milk, right? Milk without anything, just sugar and milk. Or, maybe take some fruits, something like that. But that is also not really acceptable. But if at all, if that level of compromise has to be done. But actually, devotee should not be thinking about this at all. No eating anything not offered to Krishna. Full stop. So, okay, the other option that is there available is when we preach. When we go up for preaching, sometimes, we go to somebody's house, they are not like, doing 16 rounds or anything, right? They might be chanting one round and they'll give something. In those places, we will take milk. We'll take things that are not like cooked so much by that individual and where the consciousness might just pass on to us. We can do those things. Like we can take fruits because there's not much consciousness, but at the same time, because we have preached, we'll be freed of the karma phala from that house because we have given them transcendental knowledge. But otherwise, simply going to some relative's house for some function and all that, and just for pleasing them, these things should be. I mean, there's no question about doing all this.
Okay.
See, that is why bhakti in ISKCON also what is happening now, because these are actually what Prabhupada, these are rules which Prabhupada gave us, right? These are not something that somebody has. But a lot of people have come up with so many deviations and have made it acceptable. Like, for example, some others will say, I mean, I'm being very open here. You disciples of Bhakti Vikas Maharaj, you're all fanatics. What is the problem if you eat once in a while some curd rice or some this one outside? I mean, this is a path to just not follow the given rules and regulations. That's it. You can use whatever reasoning you want. But the point is that this is what has been expected. This is what we are expected to do. So then people will take this easy route. Oh, okay, no, these are fanatics. I am like liberal. So liberal means that you are not following the rules and regulations put forth by acharyas. That means that you think you are more progress, more advanced than acharyas to change methodology of bhakti. And then, in that, in your attempt to do that, then you will call somebody as fanatic. So like this also is going on today in ISKCON. So we should stick to it. If you are serious, see, achieving Krishna Prema is not child's play. Even if we do with all the sincerity, even then it is so difficult. Now, if you do it casually, then what will happen? I mean, there's no hope of reaching that. Now, these people who don't want to follow these rules and regulations, they don't understand where they stand and how difficult it is to go to wherever we have to go, right? If our mind, even with high, honoring Krishna Prasadam every day, mind is so contaminated because of previous vasanas, etc. Now, if we willfully add contamination to our head, how are we going to clean it? It just looks impossible, right? Like on one end we are chanting, on another end we are adding contamination. So how will our contamination become clear? But nobody wants to discuss all these things. Oh, what is the problem? How do you know how much consciousness is affected? That is one thing. But Krishna is saying that, patram pushpam phalam tuyam yume bhaktya prayachiti. He didn't say once in a while eat some non-prasadam. So we don't want to, we are okay to kind of discount words of Krishna, words of Acharya, etc. in the name of some convenience, whatever we want to call it. We want to just take it easy. That's it. That's not going to help us achieve our goal. I mean, like we are talking about bread and butter kind of topics here, right? Like, where is Krishna Prema? What are we discussing? As in, it just sometimes looks like it becomes like a joke. Such exalted goal, and we are stuck with the things which we should simply forget, right? As in, I'm saying, if we think about these things, then we cannot think about Krishna Prema. Hmm. Okay, we'll finish this one. 3.7. Yastva indriyani manasa nyamyarpate arjuna karmendriye karma yogam asaktasa vishishyate. On the other hand, if a sincere person tries to control the active senses by mind and begins karma yoga, saying tries to control, so which means that there is possibility of failure, but he tries sincerely. And along with that, he has to begin karma yoga, which means that Krishna consciousness has to come in. Karma yoga without attachment, which means nishkama karma yoga, no attachment to the results and doing yoga, connecting to the Lord, using the results in Krishna service, etc. He is by far superior. Instead of becoming a pseudo transcendentalist for the sake of wanton living, wanton means one second, let me tell you the dictionary meaning of wanton. Means basically however I want, deliberate, willful, vicious. Sometimes it's also old, dated is licentious, which means immoral, kind of unethical, kind of life, right? Anyway. So point is that for the sake of living however we want and sense enjoyment, instead of becoming a pseudo transcendentalist, it is far better to remain in one's own business and execute the purpose of life. One's own business means, okay, we are grasta, we are earning, it's fine, but remain in that business. Don't try to change ashrama to become a sannyasi, to give up something artificially, etc. But try to execute purpose of life. Try to sincerely follow path of bhakti as much as possible, etc., etc. Which is to get free from material bondage and enter into the kingdom of God. That is a real business actually. The prime Swarthagati of our goal of self-interest is to reach Vishnu. That is Swarthagatim hi Vishnu. The whole institution of Varna and Ashrama is designed to help us reach this goal of life. A householder can also reach this destination by regulated service in Krishna consciousness. Not only for sannyasis. For self-realization, one can live a controlled life. See, Prabhupada is saying controlled life. Uncontrolled life is animalistic life. And controlled life, how? As prescribed in the Shastras. And continue carrying out his business without attachment. In that way, make progress. So basically, Prabhupada is saying you don't have to change your Varna or Ashrama. Continue carrying out whatever work you're doing, but live a controlled life, practice bhakti. The sincere person who follows this method is far better situated than the false pretender who adopts show bottle spiritualism to cheat the innocent public. A sincere sweeper in the street is far better than the charlatan meditator who meditates only for the sake of making a living. Okay. We'll stop here. Anybody has any questions?
No problem.
Okay. Okay. Then we'll stop here for today. It's already 9:10. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhyo cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Samaveta Gaura Bhakta ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.